Alright, Section 2, engine starting and cab controls. We'll go back to the DDA40X Operator's Manual, 19 May 1969. Are your engine starting starting and cab controls, introduction, switch, fuel priming, engine cranking located with equipment rack with the engine and other basic equipment that you use during locomotive operation following locations, cab mounted number 1 and number 2, switch fuse panel, cab mounted number 2, number 1 and number 2, engine control panels, cab number 1 and number 2, breaker panels, 4 locomotive control stand. The operating panel of the number 1 engine front with the number 1 main electronic cabinet face with the inside of the operation cab. The operation panel with the number 2 engine with the left walkway side with the number 2 cabinet are accessible through the latch door. Engine starting controls, figure 2-2. Fuel pump, fuel priming and engine start switch. The switch located with the equipment rack with the engine room with a 3-position rotary switch with the full primary engine starting. Before attempting to start with the diesel engine with the isolation switch, the locomotive cab must be placed in the starting position. Rotary switch must be then placed in the fuel prime position with the head held there for 10 to 15 seconds for the operator with the fuel pump. Lay shaft lever must then be positioned and the rotary switch plate for the engine start position held for no longer than 20 seconds for the engine starts. Lay shaft lever. The engine mounted hand operative lay operates the injector rack for the use of the position injector racks during engine cranking, thereby providing immediate supply with the fuel of the cylinder. Low water reset push button. Check for the low water reset push button. Every engine start and press to reset if necessary. Switch and fuse panel. The panel shown in figure 2-3 located with the electrical cabinet forms of the rear wall of the locomotive cab. The position directly below the engine control panel, which is located with the upper left-hand corner of the electrical cabinet. Are the D14 alternator field 60 amp per fuse. The D14 alternator receives excitation from the pair of slip of the rings connected with the low voltage DC auxiliary generator output. To protect these windings, the 60 amp fuser is provided with the excitation circuit with the fuse must be good in all places at all times during the locomotive operation. In the event of the fuse is blown with the D14 alternator excitation, resulting output will cease and set off no power alarm setting up the no power alarm and reducing the engine speed to idle. Alright, this shows your number 2, 3, shows number 1 switch and fusing panel. Auxiliary generator field 30 amp fuse. Field excitation circuit with auxiliary generator protected with a 30 amp fuse. The fuse must be generated played at all times during the locomotive operation event. With the fuse is burned out, stop with the auxiliary generator output with a low voltage system allows the also stop with the fuel pump operation. An alternator failure, no alarm would then occur. The engine will go to the idle speed and then stop with lack of fuel. Ground relay cutoff switch. The purpose of the ground relay cutoff switch is to limit the ground protective relay with the locomotive circuits contained during the certain shop with the maintenance inspections. It must always be kept closed with normal operation, otherwise within the protection offered with the ground relay nullified with the possible for the shear of the equipment damage for the could occur with the may be open. However, in the event of the extreme emergency, upon receipt of the definite instruction to the effect of the responsible officer of the railroad, on a special order toggle type ground relay cutoff switch may be provided with a multiple pole switch prevents excitation of the main generator speed up with the diesel engine when the ground relay is cut out. Your fuse test equipment to facilitate testing of the fuse, a pair of fuse test blocks of the test light with a test light toggle, which are installed with the fuse panel. The fuse may be readily tested with the solve with the first move of the toggle switch to the on position to make sure the fuse is tight light and is not burned out. The extinguisher the lighting by moving the toggle switch to the opposition plate with the fuel across the test block so that the metal ends of the fuse are in firm contact with the blocks. The fuse is good, but the light will come on. When the fuse is burned out, the light will not come on, and a new fuse is required. It is always survival the fuse before installing them in their circuits. Always isolate the circuits in question by opening their switches before changing and replacing the fuses. Auxiliary generator fuse. The fuse connects to the auxiliary generator fuse low voltage system protected against the excessive current demands of a 150 ampere fuse installed with a basic auxiliary generator. 250 to 350 ampere fuse installed with a heavy duty generator and vent with a burned out with it stops the auxiliary generator output with the low voltage system. Also stop the fuel pump with the operation alternator failure, no power alarm, whichever the occur with the engine with the idle speed with the stop of the lack of the fuel. Contain caution 250-350 ampere fuse are the same physical size of the starting 800 ampere fuse. Do not interchange these fuses. Your starting 800 ampere fuse. The starting fuse is only during fuses can be detected with attempting to start the engine since the time, and even if the starting contactor is closed, the cranking circuit is open, and the 800 ampere starting fuse is the same physical size of the 400 ampere starting fuse used in many of the locomotive models. Be careful to not interchange the fuses. If that exists, the fuel rating of the fuse may be open, and check with the 800 ampere fuse with a double fusible link, while the 400 ampere fuse has a single link. Main battery knife switch. The large double pole single knife switch switches the lower power portion of the fuse panel with the main battery switch. It is used to connect the battery to the locomotive low voltage system. Should it be kept closed at all times during operation. Alright, if the switch are left open, the fuel pump cannot be started. The lights would not be function, and the engine could not be started. If the switch is open after the engine has been started, the auxiliary generator will continue to supply the low voltage needs to but the batteries will not receive charge. Switch may be open during certain shop menus of the procedure. For the instance of the engine shut down, the locomotive taken from the service, the extended layer of the will prevent the battery from being discharged in the event of lights, other low voltage devices inadvertently left over the operating during the lower of the layover. Particular attention should be given when the notation of the switch option cautions against the opening of the switch immediately after the engine shutdowns. At least 35 minutes should be allowed for engine shutdown before the switch is open after loading operation and above throttle position number 3. This is cool down time. Turbocharger bearings can be conservatively accumulate below the throttle position number 3, even though they have 35 minutes timing with the turbocharger auxiliary lube oil pump being engine shutdown. The AR12 generator field 100 amperes. The AR12 generator receives excitation through the pair of slips rings connected with the D14 alternator output with a controlled rectifier. The fuses are provided to protect control rectifier of the generator field, winding the various control of the devices circuits to the D14 alternator as a power source. When a single generator field fuel blows, the locomotive power is lost, all alarm bell rings, and no power light on the engine control panel comes on. The blown fuse must be replaced before operation continue. Circuit breaker is figure 249. Number 1 circuit breaker panel is located with the operator's cab. This is positioned with the right of the switch fuse panel directly under an engine control panel. Number 2 circuit with the breaker panel, the side with the number 2 electronic cabinet, locomotive walkway. Access with the number 2 panels provided through a latch door. All breakers open both positive and the negative side with the circuit to provide complete isolation when the circuit breaker panel contain the following. Are you control 40 ampere circuit breaker? The circuit breaker must be in the open position before locomotive operation is possible. It sets up the fuel and pump and the control circuits for engine starting. Once the engine is running, the power is supplied through the breaker of the auxiliary generator to the main operating control. Local control 30 ampere circuit breaker. The circuit breakers must be in the open position before the operation of the locomotive is possible. During operation, establish locomotive power of the auxiliary generator to operate heavy-duty switchgear various control devices. Fuel pump circuit breaker. The 3-pole circuit protects the fuel pump motor circuit. It must be in the normal locomotive operation. Your RV motor control circuit breaker. The double pole breaker is located in the feed of the operating of the motor of the multi-pole motor operated gang switches that control the direction current flow through the traction motor field. They thus control the direction of the locomotive travel. Since the control of the power is required to the RV transfer switchgear from any position to any other position, the RV breaker must be closed for the power transfer to place. An open RV breaker does not prevent switchgear already being up in position. Probably conducted traction motor current, but the interlocking prevents the operating setup conflict the transfer switch position. In addition, the circuit breaker is guarded to prevent accidental movement. are your MB motor control circuit breaker. One unit equipped with a dynamic brake with a double pole breaker is located with the feed with the operating monitor with the multi-pole motor operated gang switch with the control motor field with an armature connection with either dynamic braking or power operations. If the control power is required, move the MB transfer switchgear from any position to any other position. The MB brake must be closed for the power transfer to take place. An open MB breaker does not prevent switchgear from already being in position properly with properly conduct motor or braking current by interlocking prevents operating setup of the conflict. Transfer switch operation addition with circuit breaker is guarded to prevent accidental movement. Windshield heater and circuit breaker. A special extra is a transparent metallic coating of the vacuum spray with the inner surface laminated windshield glass. Electrical currents are made to the coating. Electrical power supplied with the resistance of the coating caused the heat of the given off the rate of 1 per square inch to keep the window surface free of frost and ice. The brakes protect the window heater circuit. Light circuit breaker. The breakers must be on with the supply of the power with the individual switch provided with the numbered class, platform, cabinet, hood, controller, and ground and gauge lights. Headlight circuit breaker. Breaker provides the headlight circuit and the main train lines and its train line circuit. It must be on to provide current from the front headlight circuit through the train line to the light at the rear of the consist. Alright, automatic water drain circuit breaker. The units are equipped with the automatic water drain when water temperature for the thermostatic switch with the cab heater with the piping approaches freezing. Automatic drain valves are energized with the engine shut down with no AC voltage. The NVR is not dropped out for any reason. Cab heater caution. Cab heater piping can become old even if the engine running its heater supply return and cab shut off valve is closed. Your overspeed circuit breaker of the train, overspeed, speeding of the locomotive, speed recording instrument, bringing with a penalty action, and the brakes for the operation pneumatic control switch with the drop locomotive power, the overspeed brake with the protects, overspeed magnet valve, cab heater circuit breaker protects the circuit from the cab heater blower motors. Water cooler circuit breaker when the electric water cooler is provided with the breaker protects the circuit. Toilet circuit breaker, the flush type of the toilet is provided with electrical immersion, but the heater prevents the frees up with the flush tank water that breaks and protects the circuit. Alright, your load motor testing control circuit breaker with the one unit equipped with a special extra provision with the automatic loading of the locomotive's own dynamic braking grid with the grids. The circuit breaker protect with the circuit with the load test transfer the switch gear with the recommend with the circuit breaker remain on position at all times, all prevented the possibility of the accidental loading of the unit with the grids during the consist of the operation on the road. Caution, not load the unit with its own dynamic braking grids during movement on the track. The locomotive must be standstill during load testing. Alright, your module control circuit breaker. The electrical control is assembled with a plug-in module cards to facilitate the maintenance local control power supply with the main circuit board with the breaker protect the local control circuits of the board. Turbo auxiliary pipe pump circuit breaker. The circuit breaker must be in the on position start with the engine grid operated with the turbocharged auxiliary lube oil. Must retain on the on position, provide the auxiliary lubrication to the turbocharger of the engine start. After the engine is shut down, the guard is provided with the breaker to prevent accidental movement of the off position. Engine control panel. Engine control panel figure 2526 is provided with the engine section DDA40X locomotive. Panel contains switches and alarm control with the battery charging indication. So the number one engine control panel and the number 2 engine control panel. Or a brief description of individual functions as follows. The automatic water drain light. Locomotive units equipped with the automatic water drain on the thermostat with the cooling system sent to the water temperature for the engine with a shutdown with the coolant nearing freezing for the temperature for the thermostat energized magnet valve with the open and drain and vent. The coolant is drained from the system and the interlocking prevents the accidental drainage from the engine operating. Circuit interrupter trip light. Light comes on with immediate response to heavy-duty interrupter snap-on isolator motors with a flash over the power is dropped for a time with the ionized air with the clear for the interrupter air flash motor is vented after about 1/2 of the time the device actually closed with the interrupter contacts and the power is reapplied with the action with the locomotive operation. The light goes out with the operation may continue normally. Routine reports should be made with the as out as required by the railroad. Often ground relay with a trip along with a circuit breaker interrupter occurs with the ground relay with the reset automatically, either independently after time delay, depending on the equipment used. The circuit interrupter is located with the lower portion of the main electrical cabinet interlocker. Interrupter trippers are under power load sharp report over the occurs. Normally, the interrupter resets automatically after about a half a minute. Alright, high voltage ground and volt light. The light indicates the electrical path of the grounder with the accurate with the groups of the 5 dials. Main generator have failed. The light comes on with the alarm sound, but the operator there should be wait of 10 seconds. Press the ground reset button located with the control stand. Figure 2.7. The power will reapply with unless circuit breaker interrupts has been tripped in conjunction with the ground fault. And in such case, the power will reapply with the interrupter resets. If there's no ground reset button with the control stand, the locomotive will be equipped with a special automatic ground relay reset, and the operator need to take no action to reset with the relay. Such automatic resets of the ground equipped with lockout with the automatic reset will be notified after each specific number of the trips, given the number of the trip at the time period. Basic locomotive high voltage ground fault alarm occurred for the third time of the use of the ground reset between button twice, then affected units should be isolated. Or your load test light indicates the load test 9 switch and is located with the electrical cabinet in the load test position. Caution before returning the load test switch to the normal operating position. Make certain the load test motor control circuit breaker units are equipped and it's the on position. Turbocharger auxiliary pump motor light. Light will come on as soon as the main battery switch and the turbo lube pump circuit breaker are closed. Alright, this shows your locomotive control stand, air gauge, selector level, throttle level, reversal level, operating switch, head damping switch, miscellaneous switch, load current meter, cab heater control, windshield heater switch, indicating lights, gauge, light dimmers, alarm silence buttoners, ground reset button, attending coil button, air breaker control, miscellaneous operating switches, air horn operator stand number 1, truck switch, standing lever, and bell ringer. It indicates the turbocharger auxiliary lube oil pump with supplying lube oil with the turbocharger remaining with the approximately 35 minutes after the main battery is switched is closed with the fuel pumping engine prime start, which is operated for 35 minutes prior to the time cycle will again reestablished. Light remains on for another 35 minutes. Light will also come on again with approximately 35 minutes for the engine stop with a provided indication that the auxiliary lube oil pump is supplying oil to the cool of the turbocharger bearings. Your no power alarm light. The no power alarm light blue will come on with the alarm bell with a ring anytime of the no AC voltage relay or NVR opens isolation switch or run position of the emergency relay engine run relay switch on the on position for a special order locomotive that may not be equipped with the AER switch. Light will come on if the main generator field fuse below the D14 failure occurs. The engine stops. Hot engine light. For the hot engine light comes on engine speed with the power of the reduced lower level of the heist and engine cooling prevent possible damage. Alright, your hot oil, lube oil, and low oil crankcase, oil pan pressure, low water light. A mechanism detect low engine lubricating oil pressure with the bottom of the engine governor mechanism actuated with the true oil pressure failure with dumping oil from the engine on oil line leading for the governor in event with the small button with the pop-up with the governor body indicating the mechanism has tripped the low oil alarm switch. The amber light with the engine control panel will come to indicate the low oil mechanism has tripped. When an alarm occurs with the necessary to determine whether the crankcase pressure low water detector trip for the dump of the engine oil line leading to the governor, whether the true oil failure is occurred with determined with the checking of the crankcase pressure for the below water detecting device figure 3.2 with the protruding reset button, the protruding upper button with the indicator with excessive oil pan pressure, protruding low power lower button indicates low water. Warning: when determined with the crankcase pressure, the detector trip with the make no further engine room and inspection. Do not time of the restart of the engine. Isolate with the unit with the drain with the cooling system in accordance with the railroad regulation. If the low water crankcase detector has not tripped the oil water level to satisfactory oil valve on the unit, so the equipment may have opened the valve will reset automatically when the oil temperature goes down, when the engine may be restarted after cooling down period. However, the power operation under these circumstances is not recommended until the maintenance personnel have checked with the engine systems. Alright, caution. If the engine is restarted, shut it down immediately. If the oil pressure is at idle at less than 15 psi. Miscellaneous switches include the end circuits, various lights, devices on locomotive switches, also controls desired to operate class lights, number lights, engine room lights, platform lights, 1 units, equipped with the dynamic brakes, lock wires, cutout, switch provided with the disable the dynamic brakes on the particular unit. The fault occur with the headlight control switch. The twin seal beam front right and front and rear headlights are controlled with the front and rear headlight switch on the locomotive control panel. Dimming switch is mounted on the right side of the controller before the switch will function. 30 ampere headlight circuit breaker must be placed on. Locomotives equipped with a multiple unit operation remote, headlight control switch is mounted with the engine control panel. The remote headlight control switch provides the operation rear unit headlight from the lead unit with the switch position are set within each of the units as follows. On leading unit, only a single locomotive will be used for placing switch in the single unit position. Multiple units serve the trailing units are coupled with the number 2 long hooded end of the end leading unit with placing a switch controlling coupled at long end hood position. And the multiple units serve the trailing units are coupled to the number 1 short headed lead unit placed with switch controlling coupled to short head ending position. Intermediate units on operating between the units of the multiple units consist of the switch of single unit position on trailing units. Listing unit multiple consists they should have been headlight controlled and switch and the control coupled at either end position. Or your engine stop push button. The engine stop push button located with the engine control panel with which when one button pushes is pressed, the engine that end of the locomotive unit will immediately shut down. Alright, emergency fuel cutting push button. Emergency fuel cutting push button is located number 1 engine control panel and after the fuel fill opening. When any one of the buttons are pressed, both the engine and locomotive will immediately shut down. Throttle up for the lead unit consists of the B for the shutdown. All units consist. Or your isolation switch. Isolation switch has 2 positions, one labeled for the start-stop isolate, with the other labeled run. For the function for these 2 positions are as follows. Or you have your start and stop isolate position. The isolation switch position whenever the diesel engine is to be started with the start is effective only when the isolation switch is in position. Start position. Always use the isolated unit. The isolated unit will not develop the power to respond with the control of the event of the engine will run at idle speed regardless of the throttle position. Position will allow silence with the alarm bell in the event of the excitation limited with the ground relay and no power. Low lube oil arm will not. However, the top of the alarm in the event with the hot engine, the locomotive equipped with the remote traction motor cutout switch isolation switch must be placed in the isolation position before the cutout switch can be operated. Run position. After the engine has been started, the unit can be placed online by removing the isolation switch to the run position. Unit will respond to control and will develop power in the normal operation. Your locomotive controller. The locomotive controller figure shown in 2.7 is contained with the switch gave the operating leverage used by the operator during operation of the locomotive. Individual components of the controller are described together with the functions in the following paragraphs. Air gauge. The gauge indicate the various pressure for the concern with the operation of the locomotive train brake. Selector level. Selector lever. Controls equipped with the selector lever figure 2.8 with the instance of the locomotive unit equipped with the dynamic brakes when necessary for the manual with the control transition. Trailing units are not equipped with the automatic transition units equipped with the lever serve established power circuits for either of the functions. These positions of the lever indicate that the lower of the 2 illuminated windows located upper left of the corner of the control front panel lever is spring loaded so shows your selector level, the indicator of the ratchet, and the switch operation level. The movement of all the way in the one direction index of the selector cam with the 1 notch for the indirection must be allowed with the return to center position before indexing again with either direction when the selector lever is indexed to B, the braking position with the motor transfer switch operating with the braking position with the throttle lever moves freely without notching to control braking rheostat dynamic braking strength. When lever is mounted with the center of the opposition, all circuits are open. The positioning with the unintended trailing units. Alright, for operation under the power, the lower lever will be indexed number 1 position. Succeeding position number 2, 3, and 4 would be used only with the necessary for the collar transition on non-automatic trailing units operating with the locomotive consists. The throttle lever actuates switch for the control establishes the low voltage electrical servo of the engine governor for the purpose of the control engine speed with the throttle with the 10 position. Some Normally, stop, idle, and run speeds 1 through 8 is shown in figure 2.9. Each of the positions shown in the illustration illuminated indicator up and left-hand corner of the controller with the stop, all engine throttle level to pull the way out of the way from controller, then move the band one step beyond the idle and stop position. Idle position with the far forward at the throttle lever then can be moved without pulling it away from the controller. Each running notch for the throttle increase for the engine speed with the engine over 90 RPM, starting at 320 RPMs at idle and running number 1 going at 950 RPMs full throttle. And show figure 9 show the throttle, and figure 2.10 show the reverser, neutral, forward, reverse. And you insert it or you remove it. When operating dynamic brake, select with the lever B, the throttle lever serves as the braking handle move of the fresh, without notching control dynamic braking. Our reverse lever. The reverse lever figure 2.10 shows the 3-position forward, neutral, and reverse the direction either locomotive moves. Control the movement of the lever to forward or reverse position. Lever to neutral with no power will develop only the opposition operated with the valve. The reverse lever should be moved only when the locomotive is at standstill. Reverse lever that can be removed with the controller only when the lever is neutral position. Throttle is in idle. Selector is in off. The removal of the reverse lever locks the operating controls of this controller with the reverser lever should be removed from the controls in all but leading unit with a multiple unit locomotive consists. Operating switches. The group switch is located along the front face of the control, each identified with a nameplate indicating the function of the switch on the on position moved upward. Before engine start with the control panel with the fuel pump switch must be placed on. The obtainment of the power of the locomotive with the generator fuel switch must be on. To obtain control of the engine speed, the engine running switch must be on. The 3 immediate important switches grouped in the right side of the controller must be placed in the opposition of the controller with the trailing units on special order functions. Operation switches may be modified. For example, the engine run switch, if eliminated, the fuel pump switch is substituted. In such cases, if the fuel pump function is removed within control of the fuel pump switch, isolation switch must be used to provide secondary control engine speed. Other switches control standing and attending the call with various lights that they may be placed on as needed. Horn lever or switch. On basic locomotive, the air horn lever and lever are located with the upper left-hand control. The lever operated with the unit's air horn. On special order, wobble sticks and the type of the horn switch may be employed to activate the train line air horn mag valve. All horns connected to the train operate whenever the lever is operated. Sanding switches. Sanding stroke number 1 toggle switch. Signal from the switch is not train line. The switch provides the sand only for the number 1 axle of the lead unit. Consists of the main method of sanding dress of the rail with adequate for most conditions. Your sanding lever switch. Sanding switch lever is operated with electrical energy directed through the interlocking the reverser switch gear to operate the forward reverse sanding magnet valve. And all units of it consist of the basic switch may be operated with any direction for the corresponding correct sanding of the non-latching directional sand switching may be provided. An operational extra, the switch may be latching and requested by the railroad. Our electric and controlled sanding of the basic equipment used with since the locomotive can be operated with the multiple older units equipped with the pneumatic control sanding. Trainline pneumatic control sanding may be provided as an operational extra in addition with electrical control. In such cases, the trainline actuating pump must be connected between the units. Or the bell ringer. Whenever the bell ringer is operated with the compressed air is directed to the locomotive warning bell operator. The miscellaneous switches at the left of the controller. The dynamic braking circuit breaker with the power reduction switch for the rheostat with the cab light switch. Various other miscellaneous switches may be located with over the controller. Headlight dimming switch, 5-position switch located with the controller right of the throttle of the 1 position provided with the dim headlights for the both ends of the locomotive. The other position provides the brighter or medium headlight in front of the rear locomotive. The front for the switch of the function 2 headlight switches on the controller, as well as the headlight circuit breaker on the switch of the fuse panel must be placed in on load current indicating meter. Meter indicate the locomotive pulling forth during operation. Under power indicate the retarding during the dynamic brake of the meter. Needle swings to the right to indicate the current with a single traction motor for the current circuit during the power operation. 1500 amperes becomes beginning with the maximum reading of the scale of the meter. Needle swings to the left to indicate dynamic braking curve with the 800 amperes being the maximum reading of the scale. The red area of the meter fixed to indicate with the current level of the air with the too high continuous operation, short time retaining plate, rating plate under the meter, given the time of limitation, various current loads, times are non-accumulative, thus the consideration of actual conditions under the locomotive operate is not necessary to add intermittent periods requiring high current operation. Alright, during the dynamic braking regulator, current control 700 amperes before locomotives equipped with extended range dynamic breaker. Low traction speed regulators allow 750 amperes because of the grid cooling is more effective with lower speed. Cab heater controls. The heater locomotive operator is built with a control stand. The second heater located with the observed station. The operator receives hot water from the number 1 engine tank with the observer heat receives the hot water from the number 2 engine. Each heater is equipped with the following controls. Blower speed switch to the on-off, low, medium, and high as speed blower operation knob, the direct blower over the windshield wiper, the defroster outward on operating personnel. 3 valve turning the hot engine water with the hot on-off controls. The caution on-off valve must be on the on position cooling system of the drain with the recommended the on-off placed on the position several minutes before the engine to be shut down with the valve the place to keep the valve on the position after the engine is shut down. Your windshield wiper heater switch. The special order of the windshield wiper equipped with the transparent coated the inner surface of the windshield layer with the coating of the duct with the electricity with the giving them the efficient heat to remove frost and prevent it from forming on the outer surface of the windshield. Indicating lights. The lights provide a visual indication of the operating condition difficulty with the install, but the directly facing the operator following the lights may be provided with either basically or special order. Wheel slip light, intermittent flashing of the wheel slip light indicate with the wheel slip control of the doing its job with the connection with the slip of the locomotive power should not reduce unless there is severe lurching which threatens the back of the braking of the train. Note that the minor slip and wheel creep will not activate with the wheel slip light. Automatic sanding may take either place along with the regulation and power to the wheels. Warning, wheel slip light flashing slowly, persistently on a burning continuous may indicate the pair of sliding wheels carefully difficult to stop locomotive with making certain careful inspection, assertion that there are no lock sliding wheels. Your PSC or your pneumatic control switch function automatically reduce the locomotive power to event with emergency safety control brake application occur, but does by reducing this all engines to idle. Caution engine running switch of the out position of the all trailing units depending on the type of the position locomotive with the consider the possible with the pneumatic control switch to lead the unit will not act on the reducing engine speed to idle. When the switch is tripped, the pneumatic control switch open, indicating light on the control will come on. Lights extinguishment and low locomotive power restored with resetting the pneumatic control switch. This occurs automatically provided control of the air brakers, recover the throttles, return to idle position, sand. The light comes on to indicate with the sand numbered 1 truck with the switch with the globe with the sand being applied with the number 1 axle. The light is not effective with the manual with emergency with the wheel slip sanding circuits. 4. Braking warning. A braking warning light is installed with the unit equipped with the dynamic braking lights indicate with the excessive braking current when operation of the dynamic braking due to the use of any of the automatic braking limiting regulator. Warning light should be seldom if it ever come on. The only monetarily dynamic braking may be continued with the dynamic braking warning light goes on and off, but braking effort will be rough. In such cases, the dynamic braking cutout switch on the engine control panel, the affected unit shall be placed in the off position. In the event the brake warning light comes on and does not go out quickly, the brake strength should be immediately reduced to prevent possible equipment damage, except for the braking strength to be reduced by moving the throttle to the idle position. Or your train control. Train control. A special extra light that is applied with the desired the signal light. A special extra light that is applied with the desired handbrake light. On units equipped with the handbrake light will come on with the infrared handbrake is applied with the train line control circuit with the energize with the hand light relay circuit with the train line. Therefore, the hand light brake consistent with the will be on the handbrake is set on the units equipped with the handbrake light. When the throttle is open with the power with the handbrake set with the alarm bell will ring. All units consist. Warning, if the lead unit of the mix consists not equipped with the handbrake light, then power consists will be applied with the normally no alarm will sound when the throttle is open for the power. Panel light dimmers, knobs are provided with the control of the brightness of the control stand, gauge lights, alarm silence button. Alarm bell located with the control stand audibility with a signal persistent ringing caused by shutdown with the trailing unit consists. The operator need only to press the button latches alarm silence relay with the turn on the light Alarm silence bell with indicating the fault still exists. Move the light bulb will cause the alarm bell to ring again. The alarm and the light will continue as long as the fault remains. Alright, ground reset button. The high voltage ground group with the 5-minute generator diodes group fail. Ground relay operated with a drop of engine speed. Main generator excitation alarm bell rings. The HV grounded high voltage ground fault light of the engine control panel comes on. The similar light with a 9-ounce series panel in the electrical cabinet comes on. Destroy the engine speed, locomotive power starts with the alarm necessary to wait for 10 seconds, then press the ground reset push button. The control stand necessary with the isolate with affected even before pressing the button. Power will reapply with smoothly with protective relay with reset with a heavy voltage ground fault light with the engine control panel. Will go out. The announcer indicator latch on can only be reset. Maintenance personnel. On special order for some of the automatic ground set relay devices made the device's ground relay set automatically. No action required with the operator. Generally with the automatic reset, the devices will lock out automatic reset. Ground relay trips occur with frequently too many of the total times. Note the ground relay trip may occur with the circuit of the interrupter in such automatic grounding relay reset occur approximately a quarter minute before the circuit interrupter. Power will not be reapplied until the circuit interrupter has reset. Attending call push button. The alarm bell rings with the push button pressed. The button is not latching, does not have the reset. Your mechanical interlocks in on the controller. The leverage of the controller and interlock. The reversal level of the neutral throttle can be moved in any position. Selector lever can be moved in any of the position 1 through 4, with except for B. 2. Reverse lever forward or reverse throttle can be moved in any position. Selector roof can be moved in any position. 3. Throttle lever idle position reverser can be moved in any position. Selector can be removed in any position. Throttle lever 4. In the stop position, reverse level can be moved into any position, but they are not removed from the controller. Selector lever can be moved into any position. Throttle above idle position. Reverse lever position cannot be changed. Selector level cannot be moved out of B to into off from the number 1 to off, and it may, however, as desired between 1 and 4. Alright, 6. Selector level of the out position. Reverse level that can be moved in any position. Remove the control handle. Throttle level in the out position. The throttle can be removed between idle and stop only. Selector level in the B position. Reverse level that cannot be moved. The throttle lever can be moved in any position. Selector level 1, 2, and 3, 4. Reversal level that can be moved in any position. Throttle level that can be moved to any position when possible. 2, 3, 4. Incorporate the selector manual transition. Handle may be removed at the position reversal level and forward reverse of the throttle any position permissible. Movement of the throttle reversal levers of the selector 2, 3, and 4 is the same as within selector 1. Alright, air brake equipment figure 2.8. The basic locomotives are equipped with the 26L air brakes. Some 26L are standard equipment that only with the type of the air brake are when discussed in this manual. 26L air brake equipment is located on the left control as shown in figure 2.8, and the equipment consists of the automatic brake, independent brake, multiple unit valve. With the multiple unit figure 261 shows the air brake equipment. When the multiple unit control is installed and cut off valve of the train line, air pressure adjusting device, the dead engine fixture of the part with the 26L is shown in figure 2.9 when the cock accessible locomotive through the door. Provided automatic brake valve handle is placed in any of the 6 operations shown in figure 10, which is release high minimum reduction serve with high suppression emergency and handle off. Automatic brake valve, the valve handle must be placed in the 6th operating position, figure 210. Independent air brake 211. Located directly below the automatic brake handle, 2 positions mainly release in full application. When the 2 position application zone, there's self-lapping automatically laps of the flow of the material. Flow of the air, maintenance of the brake cylinder pressure, the corresponding with the position handling of the application zone. Depression of the independent brake valve handle will then release the position caused the release for the automatic brake application existing on the locomotive with the multiple unit valve. Multiple unit valve is located with the left-hand side of the air brake stand shown figure 2A with the purpose of the pilot with the F1 selector valve with the device enabled with the air brake equipment one locomotive that may control with the another unit with the use of the multiple unit 2 valve with the 3 position lead head The leader dead, trail 6 or 26, trail 24. The valve position and pushing them and turning in the desired setting. Whenever the multiple unit 2 valve with the trail 6 or 22 6 position in the actuating train line with the actuating end of the connection cutout cock must be operated with the atmosphere but necessary to prevent the inadvertent loss of the air brakes due to the possibility pressure build up the actuating line. Cut-off valve. The located with the automatic brake valve housing directly beneath the automatic brake valve handle. Valve has 3 position cutout freight and passenger. Tramline pressure adjustment. Tramline air pressure adjusting knobs located behind the automatic brake valve upper portion of the brake pedal still shown in figure 2.8. Show the full independent application release and then push the lever down and release the automatic application locomotive brakes. The brake equipment is shown position according to the information figure 212, which is your brake equipment positions. Section 3, operation. Cut the tape there. Testing.